What if Ahsoka was the chosen one? In the story we all know and love, Anakin is the chosen one, and it's his life that we follow and witness his tragic descent into darkness, but eventual recovery to the light. But how would things change if Ahsoka Tano was the chosen one? Our story will begin with Qui-Gon and Anakin. When Qui-Gon met a young boy from Tatooine, his interests immediately piqued, and after taking a midichlorian test, he deemed that Anakin was the chosen one. These events would remain the same. Qui-Gon would die, Obi-Wan would begin training Anakin, and for the foreseeable future, the Jedi Order believed they had found the chosen one. But they were wrong. Soon after, they discovered a young Togruta baby who possesses a midichlorian count higher than that of Anakin. The Jedi Order immediately brought her into the Order and began her training. As for Anakin, the council wished to discover how he had such a strong midichlorian count, but when they investigated his body, it was illustrated that he did not have an immensely high count. The tests that Qui-Gon had ran earlier were actually false. He was still above average, but nowhere near Yoda or Ahsoka. He was thankful that this had happened. He was living a dreadful childhood. His fellow Jedi classmates were horrible to him, based on the notion that he was the chosen one. When he was denounced of this title, he was able to make friends, learn better, and find an actual home within the walls of the Jedi Temple. Ahsoka began getting treated like a prize. From the moment she stepped foot inside the Jedi Temple, she was under the tutelage of Yoda himself. Under the serene guidance of Master Yoda, Ahsoka's training flourished and she grew into an incredibly powerful Jedi. Yoda instilled in her the profound intricacies of the Force, nurturing her connection with its currents until it flowed through her like a harmonious river. Being the chosen one, her skills were above par and things came very easily to her. She was well ahead of her classmates and was learning abilities years in advance. He meticulously honed her skills with the lightsaber, exposing her to Form 4 Ataru, a dance of controlled acrobatics that merge agility with precise strikes. Yet Yoda emphasized that the true power lay not solely in technique, but in the rhythm of the Force guiding every move. Beyond the physical, Yoda imparted the essence of the Jedi Order's doctrine and code. He revealed all its aspects, its virtues of compassion, temperance, and selfless service. Their discussions weren't merely lectures, they were an exchange of ideals, a sharing of perspectives that allowed Ahsoka to grasp the nuanced fabric of the Force and the Order's purpose within it. Thus, Yoda's tutelage sculpted not only just a formidable warrior, but a Jedi who embodied the harmony between the Force, the lightsaber, and the Order, forging one of the most powerful Jedi to ever exist. When Ahsoka was discovered to be the chosen one, instead of Anakin, Palpatine's plans had to change. He lifted focus on Anakin while remaining friends with the boy, but his attention had shifted gears towards Ahsoka. He found it much more difficult to get to her, with her training being completed by Grandmaster Yoda. Obi-Wan training Anakin was a flaw, and meant that there was a crack slowly growing every day, allowing Palpatine to wedge himself in between and cause tension. With Ahsoka and Yoda, this was different. She was in the Order since she was 4 years old, and had no prior attachments. Essentially, there was no material to work with in order to shift her mindset. Palpatine still knew that getting Ahsoka to his side was pivotal if he wished to maintain absolute control over the galaxy. Because of this, he extended the timeline of his plans. He delayed the beginning of the Clone Wars by 5 years, giving himself more than enough time to get to know Ahsoka and figure out how he can weave himself into her life. Manipulation took time, and he was a master of it. When Ahsoka was 19 years old, Palpatine executed his plans to begin the Clone War. Ahsoka's presence in the Clone Wars was profound. As the Jedi's foremost general, her strategic brilliance and mastery of the Force led her to triumph in numerous battles. Her remarkable connection to the Force, intertwined with her chosen one abilities, elevated her to unprecedented heights. One night at the beginning of the Clone Wars, Her mind was flooded with chaotic visions. At first, they were just flashes, glimpses of another world, but as the Clone Wars progressed, so did these visions. She began seeing images. Though blurred, she could still make out a temple, but she ignored the nightmares. They instilled fear within her, as the Force had never spoken to her like this. She continued to focus on the war and winning battles. It was clear that her abilities were far greater than anyone could ever have predicted, further growing Palpatine's desire to turn her to the dark side. With her twin lightsabers, she inspired both the clone troopers and allies with her unwavering resolve and moral compass. Throughout the Clone Wars, she won the most battles, making her the Jedi Order's most successful general in combat. Her unstoppable strength and Chosen One gifts led her to shaping the course of the war and inspiring countless beings to stand up against tyranny. Her visions continued, and she knew that the Force was attempting to tell her something, but she didn't understand what. Each time a vision corrupted her mind, it revealed more to her. With what started as a blur had evolved into a light, colorful display in which she could make out a grassy plain. Each night, it became more real. Early in the war, Anakin and Obi-Wan were given a secret assignment by order of the Jedi Council. They were to spy on the Chancellor and investigate all of his dealings. The High Jedi Council had become extremely wary of him and his motives. At this point, he had been in power for 15 years, which is far greater than the constitutional 8-year term. This mission was imperative and to be kept off the records. Every Jedi on the Council knew that there was something odd about the Chancellor. 5 years into the Clone Wars, the Jedi Council sent Ahsoka Tano and Shakti to conduct the campaign of Geonosis. This campaign was brutal and took a large toll on Ahsoka and her troops. One night, as she was resting, she was bombarded with visions once again. But they were on a grander scale. It was real. Everything she saw was as clear as the night before her. She saw Naboo, and within Naboo was a large Force temple. The Force was clearly trying to show her something, so she listened. She focused on these visions throughout the day and attempted to make sense of them. She found that this temple had the resources to train an entire order, with training rooms, meditation spots, personal quarters. It appeared to be the perfect grounds for an entire order. Back on Coruscant, Palpatine was headed to the Jedi Temple in order to discuss the war with the Jedi. He was in session with the Council, discussing battle tactics and different strategies that they can implement to win the war. As this was happening, in a meditation chamber within the Jedi Temple, Anakin and Obi-Wan reached a massive breakthrough in their investigation. For almost 3 years now, the Master and Apprentice had been investigating Palpatine. One of their most significant leads, with countless eyewitnesses, led them to believe that Count Dooku was making consistent visits into Coruscant. Somehow, someone high up in the Republic was able to smuggle Dooku into the planet without the authorities finding out. This was 2 years ago. Since then, they have been searching Coruscant for any places that left trace of Dooku. It wasn't until earlier that week they were led to the back of a run-down industrial building. Within this building, they received an old droid's memory bank to which they had recovered. This recording clearly outlined Count Dooku walking alongside the Sith Lord. As the two stared closer, their hearts dropped as they realized the identity of the Sith, Chancellor Palpatine. As the realization hits them, the very man marches into their space. He had come to congratulate Anakin on his victory on Felucia earlier in the month. The Jedi stand to their feet. Anakin and Obi-Wan ignite their blades in unison. The Jedi had been completely oblivious to the fact that Palpatine was the Sith Lord, but now he would pay. Palpatine panicked as he hadn't wished to reveal his identity this soon, but as the two Jedi moved to arrest him, he leaped backwards and ignited his crimson blade. His facade was broken, and now a true test of power had begun. The clash was swift, but the power imbalance was palpable. Anakin and Obi-Wan were nowhere near the strength of Palpatine, who had mastered all 7 forms of lightsaber combat. Anakin wasn't nearly as strong as in the original timeline, meaning that Anakin and Obi-Wan were just normal Jedi who Palpatine dispatched quickly. With blinding speed and unholy mastery of the dark side, Palpatine's strikes were a whirlwind of deathly precision. His lightsaber landed through Obi-Wan's chest and sliced Anakin through the heart. The duel had caused a catastrophic disturbance in the Force, causing all of the Jedi around the temple to sense the chaos and immediately run towards the danger. As dozens of Jedi entered the meditation chamber in unison, witnessing the murder of 2 Jedi, they all ignited their lightsabers and surrounded Palpatine. He was trapped with nowhere to go. His brain calculated his options. He couldn't let himself be arrested as there was footage of him wielding a lightsaber. If he were to survive, he needed to fight. He pulls out his comlink and executes Order 66. In a heartbeat, a battalion of clone troopers barges through the halls of the temple and fire upon the Jedi surrounding Palpatine. Palpatine began to slice Jedi to the ground and elevate the chaos. In a perfect world, he would have an apprentice to complete this task for him. He didn't like getting his hands dirty in direct actions like this, as it increased the chance of the Senate finding out and ruining his ability to keep control of the galaxy. But now, he had no choice. He remained in the Jedi Temple until every single Jedi was murdered and dealt with. During this time, Ahsoka was on Geonosis. Every single one of her clones turned against her and began to fire. She had no choice but to ignite her blade and kill some of her own men in order to successfully escape. She was able to defeat enough of her men and get to her starship, as she deflected blaster bolts from all corners of the open deserted plain. She saw her Jedi comrade Shakti get hit in the chest and perish. As she found her starship, she entered hyperspace immediately. Her mind was full of turmoil. She felt the deaths of thousands. Her friends, her family, they were all being murdered. She focuses her attention on what to do next. It wasn't in her training to dwell on the past. Ahsoka knew that she had to lay low and regather her strength. She decides to travel to the temple on Naboo that she learned about in her visions. As she arrived, she quickly located the magnificent structure. Entering the temple, she believed that she had found peace and a place to momentarily remain. However, standing in front of her was Emperor Palpatine. The Force had brought Ahsoka here just like it did Palpatine, almost 3 decades earlier, when he was just starting out as a Sith apprentice to Plagueis. Palpatine had located this temple on his home world of Naboo. It was in this temple where Palpatine honed his skills in the dark side and mastered his abilities. The Force was like a current of energy that resided in this palace. Palpatine had returned to the sacred land in order to exude ancient Sith alchemy, a deadly spell that would release the location of where strong Force energy had been expressed across the galaxy. In essence, the spell should allow Palpatine to sense the location of every Jedi through the Force, giving him the ability to send clones to each and every one of their positions. In order to cast it, the dark side must be in favor, and in order for that to happen, he must kill the Chosen One. Ahsoka saw the gleam in his eyes, the yellow, corruptive tint of the dark side. The pieces clicked in her head that he was the Sith Lord. Palpatine did not deny these accusations, and so, in the heart of the Naboo temple, Ahsoka faced Emperor Palpatine in a battle that would decide the galaxy's fate. Her twin blue lightsabers ignited with a blaze of light, contrasting with Palpatine's crimson blade of fury. The tension was shattered as Palpatine made the first move, swinging his blade at Ahsoka and threatening her life. The lightsabers clashed and resounded like a chorus of ringing steel. Ahsoka's finesse met Palpatine's fury. Their combat, an intricate balance of offense and defensive maneuvers. Palpatine's strength was undeniable, his strikes wild yet dangerous. But Ahsoka's Chosen One ability guided her. It was during the Clone Wars where her abilities flourished to unforeseen heights, through a war orchestrated by Palpatine himself. It was he who had given her the strength to rival his power. This was a critical, uncalculated error on Palpatine's behalf. As they clashed and parried, the energy of the duel seemed to shape the very environment around them. The flashes of blue and red cast stark shadows against the temple's ancient architecture. As the duel escalated, Palpatine unleashed torrents of Sith lightning, crackling tendrils of dark energy that threatened to consume Ahsoka. Yet, her innate strength in the Force acted as an impenetrable shield, allowing her to redirect the malevolent bolts with a steady gaze. The intensity of their clash caused the very walls of the temple to tremble, their power echoing through the ages. Ahsoka's Chosen One ability surged forth, a manifestation of the Force itself, as she tapped into the collective strength of generations of Jedi. Her strikes became a whirlwind of blinding speed and unerring accuracy. Palpatine, though a master of the dark side, found himself unable to keep up with the pace. Every swing, every parry, carried the weight of destiny, and it was a weight that Palpatine could not bear. She was young, determined, and unstoppable. In a final crescendo, Ahsoka channeled her Chosen One power into a monumental strike. A strike that pierced through Palpatine's defenses and ended the Sith Lord's malevolent reign. Palpatine was dead. In the aftermath of the duel within the Naboo temple, the galaxy found itself at a crossroads. Yoda, Ahsoka Tano, and Plo Koon were the main survivors of Order 66. Over the coming months, more Jedi would reveal their survival, but the Order had lost almost everyone. However, with the demise of Emperor Palpatine, order was slowly restored to the Senate under the steady guidance of Mon Mothma, the new Supreme Chancellor. The Kaminoans, recognizing the errors of their previous creations, undertook a monumental task. They removed the inhibitor chips implanted within every clone trooper, allowing them to make their own choices, free from external manipulation. Some troopers chose to serve the New Republic, while others sought new paths beyond the confines of war. Amidst this transformation, the Jedi Order sought solace in a new home, far removed from the political turmoil that caused their demise. Ahsoka brought them to the temple on Naboo, a large architectural design already equipped to train a new order. This new Jedi Order hardened back the ancient ways, where meditation, knowledge, and empathy took precedence over militarization. Ahsoka Tano, a shining example of the Order's resilience, became a beacon of guidance for the new generation of Jedi. Together, Yoda, Ahsoka, and Plo Koon began the process of rebuilding, not just the Order, but also the connection between the Force and the galaxy itself. And so, Ahsoka Tano had fulfilled the Chosen One prophecy and brought balance to the Force, destroying the evil that plagued the galaxy. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch What If Obi-Wan Was the Chosen One, or What If Ahsoka Went to Mustafar instead of Obi-Wan. Please check out our Discord page if you would like to be active within the community and discuss all things Star Wars. I hope you all enjoyed, and may the Force be with you.